Let's dive in now to some malabsorption. So let's talk about, before we get into this diagram, let's switch gears here. I want to go to what I call the malabsorption paradox. So what we see here on the board is malabsorption leads to nutrient deficiencies. And this is one of the problems, because when you have been eating gluten and you've damaged your GI tract and you're struggling with an autoimmune condition or autoimmune pain as a result of that exposure, generally speaking, you're already in a place where your nutrient status is compromised. You have nutritional deficiency. As I've shown you guys numerous times, the average person with a gluten sensitivity diagnosis has multiple different nutritional deficiencies at the point of their diagnosis. So we know that gluten can cause, let's change our color. Gluten can cause malabsorption. It's not the only thing that can cause malabsorption, but again, many of you following along are gluten sensitive. So malabsorption leads to deficits in nutrients, and the nutritional deficiency inhibits your ability to heal. So it compromises the healing process. And then inhibited healing, it basically equates to poor outcomes. So you've changed your diet, right? If you've gone gluten-free, but you have this malabsorption issue, but you fail to have a good outcome because of the malabsorption. This is one of the key missing links to those of you who've made diet change but didn't see the outcome or the result that you wanted to see. Now switching gears, so this is bad, but there's good news, and that's what this over here is referring to. What I want you to understand is that 60% of the nutrition to the gut, of the nutrition to your gut, the cells in your intestines, the cells in your colon, the cells in your stomach, 60% of their vitamins and minerals come directly from the food that you put in your mouth. Unlike all the other tissues in your body, like your liver, for example, or your muscles or your joints, they get their nutrients from the blood supply. The blood delivers nutrition to those different organs. But your GI tract receives 60% of its nutrition directly from what you eat. That means all hope is not lost, meaning that even if you have a damaged gut with malabsorption problems, you can still get a lot of good nutrition from what you put in your mouth, right? And so this is key to understand. So directly from the food that you eat is going to be very critical and very important, but also it also tells us that nutrition supplementation done orally can also be used to overcome nutritional deficiencies. And I've seen this for 21 years in clinical practice, where we use sometimes higher doses of nutritional supplementation to correct malabsorption problems, because sometimes the body needs a jump start. Now, if we're talking about malabsorption, let's really define it. This is an image of the GI tract, right? From your GI tract is from your mouth to your anus, right? It's a tube that runs through your body, and it stretches and moves around, right? But it's a quarantine tube that's job is to separate the good things in your food from the bad things in your food, and to poop out the bad things, but to absorb, right, to get to the good things. What are the good things? They're the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the carbs, the fats, the proteins, the things that your body needs to heal, to repair, to maintain normal function. And so as we look at this diagram on absorption or on the gut, it's also important to understand it's not just the stomach and the intestine that can create a problem. For some people, not for some, for all people, right, where does digestion begin? It actually begins right here in the oral cavity. You actually produce amylase in your saliva. What is amylase? Amylase is a digestive enzyme. So this is an enzyme that helps you start to break down carbohydrates in your mouth the second you put food in your mouth. So, a lot of times we'll see autoimmune diseases like Sjogren's syndrome, which is an autoimmune disease that damages the ability to produce, dries up your salivary production and dries up your enzyme production. It can start to create malabsorption directly in the mouth. But we also know it's not just about the saliva. You also have teeth. These teeth, your dentition, if you will, your oral hygiene and the strength of your teeth and the quality of your ability to chew matter, because this is how mechanical digestion occurs. And so what happens to a lot of people is they have very, very poor history of taking care of their mouth, right? So they've got a lot of missing teeth, or they've got a denture issue, or they've got major pain, root canals and other things. in their mouth from years of malnutrition. So teeth become a very important part, obviously, of how we're capable of breaking food down. Then we travel, once the food is chewed thoroughly, it's swallowed, it travels down the esophagus, hits the stomach, where we have acid and other enzymes that help to degrade protein, right? And so some people have a problem with what goes on in their stomach because either they make low acid, they don't make enough stomach acid, so they can't break that protein down, or they're not producing adequate stomach protease enzymes. So really one of the primary ones is pepsinogen. Pepsin is a very important enzyme that helps to break down protein. And then we also have the pancreas, which is not part of the intestinal tract, but the pancreas is responsible for also making amylase. It makes lipase. It makes elastase. For starters, it also makes H2CO3, which is bicarbonate, to neutralize stomach acid. So the pancreas is very important, playing a role in helping us to break our food down. And so some people have pancreatic insufficiency, and we'll talk about that because that can be a cause of malabsorption as well. And then we also have the liver, right? The gallbladder, particularly the gallbladder, produces bile, which helps us to emulsify fat, which makes fat water soluble so that we can absorb it properly. And so some people have liver gallbladder problems, and so they're not making bile adequately, or they've had their gallbladder removed, and that creates a scenario of fat malabsorption, which can be a problem. So even though the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas are not directly part of the GI tract, they're what we refer to as accessory organs. They aid in the digestion of our foodstuffs. And if these organs are compromised, not working right, have been surgically removed or operated on, then you can compromise your ability to digest the nutrients from your food, causing malabsorption, even though your gut might be fully intact, your GI tract per se. So your GI tract consists of the oral cavity, the esophagus, the stomach, the small and large intestine, and the rectum and anus. So now as we shift down and we move down to the small intestine, many of our digestive enzymes are produced in the small intestine. And then we have our colon, which is where a lot of our fiber is processed. A lot of our microbiome lives there to help produce vitamins and other nutrients from the fiber and from the foodstuff. So again, we've got very important functions that go on in the colon in terms of our nutrition, and then we have the excretion process through the rectum and anus. So anything that compromises this GI tract's ability to do its job properly can compromise your ability to get to the vitamins, the minerals, the carbs, fats, proteins, nutrients in the food that you eat. So again, that was just a mini crash course to just provide you with the premise of understanding as we move into kind of the consequences of malabsorption. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.